Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming and checking out the event. This is Live with Josh with Doing Clients, and we have a special guest just for you. The guest that we have is Jim Lontz. Jim, would you care to introduce yourself to the veterans and active duty service members that are transitioning out of the service?
Absolutely. Thank you, Josh. I'm Jim Lontz. I'm a co-founder and chief strategy officer for Silon Enterprises, which is a small boutique firm that I created. Been in cybersecurity for over 25 years, multiple roles, multiple positions, including operations, SOC management, uh, ethical hacking, things like that, pen testing, what have you. The last 15 or so years, I decided to go over to the dark side and be in sales. And been in sales leadership, product management, project management, all of those things as well. So very deep, wide experience, cybersecurity experience in the last 25 years or so.
That is awesome, Jim. That is awesome, Jim. And I appreciate you coming on and giving us your time. I know the veterans and active duty service members that are transitioning out, along with military spouses, are going to love the information you're going to provide today. So Jim, just so everyone knows, as far as questions and interacting, how would you like to do the questions today?
Well, typically, I like to be interactive in these types of discussions. So if you have a question on a particular topic that I started on, feel free to either call out or just write something in the comment section, and Josh can pick it up for us right away. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you don't want to be the person raising your hand in class, just save it to the end, and we'll address it at the end. Whatever's easiest for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Jim, the audience and everything is yours. Just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide, and we'll go ahead and go from there.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you. So first and foremost, I should say that I've been fighting off a cold the last couple of days, so I'm a little stuffy. I might cough one or two times throughout this presentation, so please bear with me. Second thing is, like most of you, working from home, I have a dog in my room. If a squirrel sneezes outside, she might bark, and I'll have to ask for your forgiveness on that as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Next slide. So a couple of the topics I want to address as we come down through here, and as I understand it, these are the audience here is essentially active and reserve duty personnel who are looking to make a switch into cybersecurity. So there's going to be some advice for new people coming into this, what do employers look for, how meaningful certifications are, and a lot of times I run into this is, listen, I'm a technical person, I'm an operations person. Why do I need to know about the business side of things? And that dovetails directly into graduating your career, and then some Q&A at the very end. But first and foremost, before we answer any of those questions, the one question you have to ask yourself and answer for yourself, and it's going to be different for everybody: why am I here? Why do I want to do cybersecurity? And that will actually help you map out exactly what your career looks like. So to give you an example, why I'm here, why I do what I do, and Josh and I had this discussion yesterday, this crystallized for me back in about 2008, 2007. I was managing a SOC for Symantec at the time, and I saw what an absolute wrecking ball the Communist Chinese Party is for American companies. They don't target their stealing. They come in, they bash in the door, and they steal everything, including the kitchen sink. And I saw how devastating it is to American companies. So at that point in time, I made up my mind. I was going to prevent the CCP from encrypting the entire world, which is their stated goal. And I figured the best way for me to do that is be a force multiplier. So I could have spent my career at one single keyboard, at multiple monitors, and fighting the good fight that way. But I think for me, and what I do, what my strengths are, educating people, educating customers, educating enterprises about the dangers of the CCP techniques, how they go about doing these things, and honestly showing them what the numbers bear out. So with that, next slide, please. So a little bit of advice. Right now, there are far more jobs than qualified people. So you can absolutely be awful at cybersecurity and you will still have a job for the foreseeable future. You have to ask yourself if that's what you want to be. Do you want to be just a mediocre person in a field that absolutely needs you, or do you want to be a rock star in a field that absolutely needs you? You can do it either way, but that's something you have to determine for yourself. Another thing that I get, especially from people who come out of the military or do some sort of government service, is they say, I want to do this and I only want to do this. And so they find their careers very limited, right? They get their wish. If you just want to be a pen tester and that's all you ever want to be, great. Go be that pen tester and be the best pen tester you can be. But if your boss comes to you and says, hey, could you pick up some vulnerability assessments? All right, listen, I only do pen testing. Very limited career field. You know, pen testing is actually on its way out a little bit. People still do it, but only as a compliance measure. So my advice is don't be so rigid. Learn as best as you can. Determine, and that dovetails directly into determine what you want your ceiling to be. Are you a worker bee? Are you a queen bee? Are you a entrepreneur? Are you a leader? Are you a manager? You know, the field is so wide open right now that you can literally choose what you want your ceiling to be, and you don't have to go any farther than that. And then finally, learn as much as you possibly can. Honestly, the more you know, the better off you're going to be, the more future-proof you make yourself. So if you go in with, and I'll take the pen tester analogy again, if you want to go in as a pen tester and someone nudges you in the arm and says, hey, how would you like to learn about doing red team activities? Absolutely. Teach me every day, all day. Show me what it is that I'm missing. Point out the flaws in my background so that I can be as well-rounded as possible. If that's your thing. If you just want to be siloed into one thing, that's your prerogative as well.
So attitude is just as important as skill set.
Absolutely. I bring this up in the next couple of slides, but that is exactly right. If you have you're going to get out of it what you put into it. If you've got a poor attitude, that's what you're going to get out of it. You're going to get a very limited career. You're going to get a very limited set of skills, and you're going to have a very limited ceiling. If you come into this as saying, I want to be the baddest person in this space, and I want everybody to fear me. I want my adversaries to fear me. That's absolutely possible, and you don't need a specialized degree to do it. But if that's what you want, you can get that out of this as well. And perfect slide here. Willingness to learn. This is what employees are looking for. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a college dropout. I don't have any formal education or higher education in cybersecurity. When I started, it was back in 1996. I actually started in the .com era, where I worked for a very small, but one of the first commercially available internet service providers called PSINet. Until someone came into our office one day and said, "What do you guys know about firewalls?" For me, I was hooked at that point. But at the end of the day, I picked up every book I could read about cybersecurity and internet security. And then I got a couple of certifications. And then I started learning about what other people knew. And then I started listening to what the technical folks were saying, the operations folks were saying, and everything down the line. And I just kept building on the knowledge that I had. So that's the first thing. And then on the heels of that is you have to either go all in or all out. There is no middle ground in cybersecurity. If you just try to coast, you will get found out quickly, and you'll be put in that box. And again, it goes back to what I said before. If you want to be in that box, that's your prerogative. But at the end of the day, if you're doing one or the other, and you have to make the decision early on. Be open to multiple disciplines. Be helpful and look for resolutions. So the biggest thing that employers hate is to hear, "Not my job, not my responsibility." And it could be something as simple as picking up a piece of trash off the floor. if you come into it like that, they're gonna look at you and say, okay, they're not gonna be a part of the new project I have planned. They're not willing to learn anything. They just want to do what they want to do, and they just want to come in and type at their keyboard for 8 hours and go home. If you are open to learning multiple facets of the security policy and or the business, you're going to be that much more valuable. The grind sharpens the axe. Yeah.
So Jim, before, as we get into the next bullet point, so from the market, from where you started to where the market is in today's market, whether it's certs or that the knowledge now, how has that shifted? And can you kind of dive into just a little bit of that?
Absolutely. I actually have that on my next slide.
Okay.
But that's a really good question. So at the end of the day, certs are useful. Back when I was getting certs, they were more required than they are today, because most of the last two generations behind me grew up on computers, and they've been coding and doing all of those things on their own home networks all their lives. So it isn't necessarily what cert you have anymore. It's demonstrating your ability to get the job done.
Awesome.
And to that end, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
And to that end, the grind sharpens the axe. When you first get into cybersecurity, it's a grind. I'm not going to lie to you. It's, you are out there digging ditches. And what I mean by that is you're slogging through logs. You're, reading alert packages and trying to discern, what's important and what isn't important, so that your level 2 techs can do further investigation. That's just where it's going to start out at, unless you're on the sales side. And if you're on the sales side, you got to learn how to talk to people. And you can't be the type of person that says, well, I don't know. And so you have to be able to stay focused in that you really need to understand what the job is and understand what it takes to get the job done. And a lot of times that's just good old fashioned investigative work, or reading logs, or collating logs, or collating alerts, or anything that isn't an automated situation at this point in time.
So Jim, since you brought that up, the grind sharpens the axe, and that there's things that are going to be, that's going to have to be done that are going to be a little harder at the beginning. So for the veterans that are out, and or even the SkillBridge candidates from the active duty service members, if they can grind every day from the service, they can do the same type of grind in this industry. Would you agree to that?
So that's typically what I see. A lot of times, most of the time, I would say, when we get professionals coming out of the military, they've already have a certain amount of training of grinding away, right? So basic training isn't fun, but you learn how to do everything a certain way. And if you can take that mentality, uplift it, and then put it into your security career at the very beginning. Now, this is only for the beginning. This is probably only for the first year or two.
Right.
And then after that, once they see that you're all of those things, you're willing to learn, you're open to multiple disciplines, you're focused, you're asking for advice. Once your superiors see that kind of activity or that kind of dedication to the business and to the policy, those two people tend to move up a lot quicker. And so you're getting away from slogging through a lot of the stuff. And quite frankly, everybody has to do it. Nobody's exempt from it. I don't care how much experience you have, or how many degrees or how many certs that you have. Everybody has to take that year to go through and build their own personal brand from the ground up.
So now for the SkillBridge candidates which can be a range. It can be from different branches. So they got different MOSs that they're transitioning over. And some of those individuals can also be the ones that are getting ready to retire. There's certain things that I hear that you can get into this industry no matter what age you are or where you are in your next chapter. So how do you think for someone that's coming out, they're getting ready to retire, utilizing the Skill Bridge program as they transition out? Um, you know, can a person be, you know, uh, have a too old to do it?
Hmm.
Can they still come in after retiring for 20 years and still come into this industry and still be strong and valuable?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Age is just a number. And when I say if you're coming in new to cybersecurity, what I mean is it isn't your age that's necessarily a barrier or anything. It might be your experience level. Have you ever done any kind of work like this, right? Do you have anything that in your resume or in your background that says, I know this is tangential to what I did in the military, and here's how it applies to cybersecurity. You have to be able to have that conversation as well. So, at the end of the day, you might be working, you might be 20, 30 years in the service, and you want to embark on a new career because you're just not done yet. You're not ready to play golf all day or anything like that. Um, so you might find yourself in a situation where you're working with younger people, but you have the benefit of years and years and years of experience where they don't. You're probably going to move up quicker, especially if you were in a leadership role in the military or you had people working underneath you. A lot of people that I see that come out of the military and into these roles in cybersecurity tend to graduate a lot more quickly.
Awesome. No, I think that's great advice. I appreciate
Mhm.
that, Jim. That's a great
Sure,
answer. Um,
sure.
Sorry to slow you down, but for the
You're not. You're not
for
at
the
all.
next bullet point, um, so as we go into ask your manager and director, et cetera, for advice, um, and how did they get to their level, um, where for the individuals that we're talking about, for the veterans and service members, um, what do you mean by that?
So, it's no different than asking a superior in your branch of service if you go to your lieutenant or you go to one of your officers or even maybe a sergeant major or something like that. It's no different than going to them and saying, how do I graduate my career in the military? What would you suggest I look at? What would you suggest I do? If you work within a company and you're getting noticed by your manager or your superior, it's no different than going to them and saying, listen, here's where I want to go. This is what I want to do with my career in cybersecurity. And if it's a level that they're at or a level above them or what have you, you just say, in your time with this particular organization, how did you get to where you are? And how do I do that? How do I graduate my career? And then go and talk to your manager about goal setting and things like that. In fact, most organizations, you're going to have quarterly reviews about your performance, and they're going to grade you based off of that. And so it depends on the organization, but some organizations, all they ever want to do is pick apart your performance and say, out of a possible 5, you're a 2, even though you did everything that was asked of you, even though you've exceeded expectations on everything else. And you're allowed to, unlike the military, well, actually, I don't know. I was never in the military. But from what I understand from people who were in the military told me, you're actually allowed to challenge your reviews as well and say, hey, look, I don't think this is accurate. And here's why. But you have to come documented. You have to say, okay, this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. And, let's have a constructive conversation about how I, take my rating of 2 and get it to 5. What are you looking to see specifically? And you got to kind of hold their feet to the fire that way. And then there are other organizations who are more realistic in their reviews and evaluations and saying, you're great, you're perfect, you've done everything we asked you to do, you've done it proficiently. We want to keep you as an employee. We think you're a great employee. And then you ask, well, great. How do I graduate my career and do it this way? So it's very similar in that regards. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right, great. So on to the next slide. Here's to cert or not to cert. They never hurt. Certifications will absolutely open a door for you. And it helps you understand what you want your calling to be or what you want your ceiling to be in your career. So I recommend starting out with basics, Security Plus. I carried a Security Plus certification, GIAC Plus certifications for 10 years. But also don't over rely on them, right? Don't be the person that walks into an interview or a company and says, look at all these certifications I have behind me. So 9 times out of 10, that means you're going to go, so what?
So as the veterans and active duty service members utilizing the SkillBridge program, one of the things at Seven Eagle is we help them, get those certifications, whether it be A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, etc. How do you see the value to where they can come and connect with Seven Eagle to get their foot in the door for into the cybersecurity sector?
Right. So are you talking about getting your foot in the door as they relate to certifications or just networking and things like that?
But yeah, networking and stuff.
Well, you are one slide ahead of me this entire presentation. I actually addressed that on the next slide coming up. But suffice to say, networking is vitally important. The more people you know, the more people you can connect with, the more opportunity that you're going to get up. It's simply a numbers game. I found the best way to network is through LinkedIn, through Glassdoor, and through Indeed, maybe a couple other job sites and things like that. But ultimately, getting your profile set up in those organizations and having your resume visible for everybody to see and your accomplishments and what you've done and those types of things, you're going to garner a lot more interest. And then making that very, very visible to recruiters, leaders that are looking to hire, and so on and so forth. But also, don't underestimate your military network. Military networks, I found in cybersecurity, are invaluable. People that have gone out and have blazed that trail before you have a wealth of knowledge and experience about the best way that they've done it that you can actually replicate and follow, and it's very easy. And all you have to do is use that relationship that you had with that person in the military.
And that's absolutely right, Jim. To where, as they utilize their network, and Seven Eagle, we have a huge network with the veterans. So
yeah.
as they connect with us, we can connect them with that opportunity to where they can do the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there is no such thing as a bad connection unless that connection's a real dirtbag. But at the end of the day, the more people you touch, the better chances for success and opportunity. I mean, it's really that simple. It really is. The people that I know in this industry, I've cultivated these relationships over the course of 25 years. So for me, if I want to do something, it's just as easy as picking up a phone and calling my buddy CJ and saying, "What do you know about this, and how do I get in?" And he'll give me the whole blueprint if he knows, or if he doesn't know, he'll point me to somebody who does know. Rely on your mentors. Huge, huge, huge. Find a mentor. Find someone who can guide you through this process. Rely on them extensively. Get their advice. Take them out to lunch. Take them out to dinner. If you live near a lake, take them out on a lake. Go fishing. Go golfing. Whatever it takes to get in front of that person as much as you can and sponge up as much as the knowledge as they can give you. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you and proving yourself and proving what you know and how you translate that on your resume. So I'll go back to what I said before. Say you, and this is an example that I used yesterday with Josh. Say you were on a ship, and your experience is with missile guidance systems. It's your job. It was your job to have those missile guidance systems up and running 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Make sure all the connections are working. Make sure all the wireless, whatever it is, wireless, closed circuit, whatever it is, whether you had to stretch cable, whether you had to run diagnostics, whatever that was, you have to be able to relate that into cybersecurity and say, I manage this group of people to be able to ensure that our diagnostic systems on the fire control mechanism for the missiles on this ship functioned, 5x5, 24/7, 365. So you may not think that's a big deal, right? Because the more I talk to people who are in the military, say, oh, well, it was an easy job. All I really did is this. You have no idea how important that job is when you're talking to a recruiter or someone in the civilian world. They're going to look at you and say, holy crap, that's a lot of responsibility. And, I don't know that I could trust my folks to be able to do something like that. So don't underestimate the things that you've done, and make sure they're translatable and saying, I don't know everything there is to know about cybersecurity, but I know how to protect this particular wiring or circuitry to ensure that nobody who shouldn't have access to it didn't have access to it, because that's a really big part of cybersecurity. So, again, talk with your mentors who are in the civilian world right now, but say, this is, what I did in the military. How do I translate that to cybersecurity? And the leap may not be as big as you think it might be.
And that's a great point. So while as they come and ask, and we help out the veterans and the ones using the Skill Bridge program, we get them to that level, and we help them get that connection. So as you go into the next point, to prove what you're doing on your resume and interview, that's I like how you're going into the next section and then going in and to the other bullet points.
Yeah. So I find the next two bullet points are the hardest and most challenging for people coming out of the military and into the civilian world. Do you know how to talk to people? You can't talk to people in the civilian world like you do in your military world, at least not right away, and definitely not during an interview process. So in the military world, things are cut and dry. It's this or that, and did you do it or did you not do it? And if you didn't do it, tell me how you're going to do it. Makes sense to all of us. It's logical. It follows a process, and we all agree that that's the best way to do things. Not everybody in the civilian world is like that. Not everybody in the civilian world has done any kind of military service and knows how to deal with military people. Fortunately, you have to deal with people like that. Do you know how to talk to them? Do you know how to not call their baby ugly? What I mean by that is you're interviewing, and your would-be superior says, well, we set up the network this way. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this, and I just shake my head and laugh every time I hear it. That this person on the other end goes, well, that's just stupid. Well, now you've just told your would-be superior, the person you're trying to get a job from, that everything they've done is absolutely wrong, and you've done it in such a way that it insults them in a way that they're never going to look at you again. So I understand that those type of things happen more often in the military than they do in civilian world, but understand there's a way to call somebody's baby ugly without calling it ugly. And instead of saying, well, that's dumb, just say, hey, have you thought about trying it this way? Coming up with a new solution to a problem that you see will go a lot further than just being direct frontal assault all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so this is another common misnomer, that cybersecurity is still just a technology type of industry. It is not. It is now firmly a business need. We saw this through 2019, 2020, and even higher in 2021. There's a sharp rise in zero-day and ransomware attacks that directly impact customer revenue. If you don't know what a zero-day attack is, it is essentially a signatureless attack where someone, a bad actor, has put a piece of code on a network that, it's small. There's nothing you can write a signature for about it, but all it's supposed to do is every once in a while, according to a program, it's supposed to raise up and beacon out information back to the home server. Now, it could happen over a series of days, weeks, months, or years. Only God and the hacker knows when they're going to enact a download payload to compromise that network. But at 0-day, because there's never been a signature written for it, there's no firewall rule written for it, there's no way to detect it other than behavioral analytics. And even then, if you're not doing that right, you're never going to catch it because there's no contextualization around it. So and we all saw this, it impacted, I think, over 43 government and civilian networks, including the DoD, back in 2020, when there was a vendor out of Israel. Name is escaping me right off the top of my head, but that's because I'm having a senior moment right now. Very, very huge attacks cost the U.S. government over $40 billion. That's with a B. That was in one attack, and it was done by the Russians. Ransomware attacks are even worse because they're encrypting the entire network and saying, if you don't give me $40,000 by Friday, you're never going to get this key, and you're going to have to either rebuild your network or try to restore your network from backups, which is going to cost a hell of a lot more than $40,000. So these companies are being held up for ransom. We saw this time and time and time again over the last couple of years. Each of these breach, on average, cost $4 million in the U.S. Globally, it's even higher. Company suffers reputation damage because who wants to work with a company that can be breached so easily? Revenue loss, as we've seen, not only the $4 million it cost to mitigate the breach, but the revenue loss for cost of selling goods and services. Loss of intellectual property. If you've got the crown jewels hidden somewhere and they've stolen them from you, they can produce it cheaper or sell it on the open market at a higher price. This is a business need now. There's no more room for just being a technical guru. So that means you have to state your needs in terms of money. And the three things employers want to know is, how will it save me money? If you're going to the board or executive team or even senior leadership, how's this going to save me money? How's it going to make me money? How does this make me or my group more effective? And that's how you have to contextualize everything. If you're a security analyst and you want a new tool that's going to help you automate the collection of alerts so that you can save time going through those alerts, that's how you have to say it. Here is my salary. It takes me this long to collate all of these alerts right now. If we had this tool, which cost me $10,000, I can use it to collate all of these alerts and save, we'll call it 4 hours a day, which means it's this much money that we're saving off of my salary. And now I can use that time to better able contextualize the alerts that we're seeing, and we can report on the stuff that actually matters to our network. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Great. How do you graduate your career from going to the bottom to the top? Two things you got to know right away before you do anything. Are you a leader or are you a manager? And in case we don't know the difference, a leader seeks to rise all tides, raise all ships. A manager is really good at checking boxes and staying on task. Which one are you? That will determine how you want to graduate your career. And we talked about this a few minutes ago. Never throw away a relationship unless the person's a complete dirtbag and you can't rely on them. Recruiters are absolutely necessary. So the more recruiters that you touch and reach out to and talk to, the better off you're going to be. Research the companies you want to work for. So I hear this all too often. I just want a job. I don't care where. Well, if you're a leader and you get a job at IBM, you're going to be very, very unhappy very quickly because they don't allow leaders. They only allow managers. If you want to be a manager and you take a job at a small startup, you're not going to last very long because they don't need compliance checkers. They need thought leadership. So research the company that you're looking for. And is it a fit for you personally? Is it a fit for your career goals? Is it a fit for your personality style? Then you find out who your manager or director is, whatever, of the position that you're hiring for, and look them up on social media. Find out what they tweet about, if they tweet. Find out what their LinkedIn page looks like. Find out what their Facebook page looks like. Research them and find out who they are. Find out if there's somebody you can work with. Because I've seen this as well, where it's the right position in the right company, just not the right manager or leader. This person may have beliefs and a system of belief that is completely antithetical to what you have or what you are. That always ends poorly. Always, every single time. I've never seen it end well. And then, of course, whoever you report to, ask them how you graduate your career. You've been there a year. You think you're ready for more responsibility. State in terms of why you think you're ready for more responsibility. Go back to what projects that you've completed, the money you've saved, the money you've made, the way you've made things easier. And then finally, be indispensable. Don't give them a reason. We all know the football analogy, right? Don't leave it up to the refs to win the game for one side or the other. Be indispensable. Don't leave it up to chance. Make it so that they can't deny you in any way, shape, or form your ability to do what you do. Volunteer and pay attention. There's a lot of things that you can do in terms of volunteering, and that can be inside and outside of work. If it's a cause that you're passionate about, be sure to bring that up in your workplace and say, this is something I'm doing. I would love to be able to bring this to the company's direction and vision. Kind of like this group right here. One of the things, and this is something that Josh and I spoke about yesterday, I was never in the military. I have 3 older brothers who were in the military. They were all special forces. I have a very special affinity and I guess you could call it kinship for the military and all the branches. You guys laid it on the line for me every single day, and I don't care what your job was. You laid it on the line for me so that I could do what I do every single day. And so I will always, always, always do my best to ensure that those in the branches of the military have the best opportunity they can to get into civilian life. And that's what I can do for my part. So wherever I am, I work with companies like Seven Eagle. I work with specific veterans that I've known all my life and getting them ready for their next career. People that I know that made the transition from the military into civilian war. I do whatever I can to help you guys because I firmly believe in this, and I'm a true believer of this.
Now, Jim, we do have a question from Jordan Thomas. Jordan, thanks for coming on. His question is, I am soon to be transitioning vet, hoping to participate in SkillBridge in a few months. I've been in IT my entire career, roughly 12 years. However, my main interest is in program management in the future. I have multiple PM certs and experience. I would like to do this in the cyber IT industry. Definitely opening to learning, but prefer not to be a technical expert. Is it still necessary that I have the same knowledge base as technical experts in cyber if my preference is managing and leading?
So if you're looking to be a project manager, I'm assuming you have your PMP, but that's going to be a little bit different than a technical role. So in that particular instance, you're going to have to be the translator, right? You have to know enough technical to be able to translate to your project or the program that you want to manage. The program managers are very, very big in very large companies. They're also very big in the government because the programs tend to be very, very complex. You have to know the ins and outs of the program and buying vehicles and things like that, in addition to being able to translate what the technology is to the superiors, to your senior leadership teams or your executive leadership teams. So you have to be proficient on both sides. You're kind of that middleman. You don't need to be the technical guru. You don't need to tell them how an IP encapsulates as it gets encrypted through a firewall or anything like that. But what you do have to know is, hey, I know this program is calling for checkpoint firewalls, but they've kind of lagged behind the curve in terms of technology in recent years and haven't really innovated, especially for what we're trying to do. Have we taken a look at Palo Alto and then state your case on that and then why technically that works better and it's easier to use and all that other stuff? And that's just one example. But you have to have a large breadth of knowledge within the industry itself. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that definitely answers the question from his standpoint. And Jordan, thank you, vet to vet. Thank you for your service. Jim, we definitely have the the different questions, one of the biggest thing, and Jordan said absolutely. He said thank you.
Good.
The one of the biggest things is as they get into the interest of cybersecurity and they're looking for different things, then they as they transition into the cybersecurity and IT sector, the biggest question, and you hit a lot of those from getting into it, and whether cert or no cert, getting that information from your leader that you're reporting to, learning their skill sets, and basically being a sponge, so that way you can be better even than them, and learn from their mistakes as they came into the industry. So that brings me to as we exit out of here and into the live event, how important is it to connect with groups like Seven Eagle to help get their foot in the door as we make the connection to the client standpoint? And what are those valuable points that as the client that they can really bring just as a quick bullet point so they know, Jim?
So groups like Seven Eagle are absolutely invaluable. They're vital for your transitioning into the civilian world, so to speak. This is a pretty big group, right? So I encourage you to take part in chat sessions, forum sessions, and things like that, so that you can benefit maybe from experiences from somebody else that you may not have met, but they want to invest in the group as well, and then understanding where the for lack of a better term, where you overlap, I guess is a way to put it. In addition to that, I was just talking to Josh yesterday about this as well. I'm happy to submit your resume to companies that I know are looking as well right now. So I'll give you an example. I just started with a new company. It's called Cybersecurity. It's a well-funded startup, and they're doing managed security services in a very unique way. And it's never really been delivered this way in the enterprises, the way they're doing it. But I had a chance to meet with the senior directors and leadership, both from a governance perspective and from a SOC operations perspective. And they're looking for people, and they want to bring people in. So
and that's one of the things that going in and leading into as we close up this, can you kind of explain some of the details on the opportunities that's getting ready to come up, Jim, that that would be open to a SkillBridge candidate or a veteran in the industry?
Right.
What can you do a little detail on that opportunity that's getting ready to come up?
So for the governance side, and it's in the enterprise, it's called GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. These are things like pen testing, vulnerability assessments, red teaming, maybe investigations, digital investigations, wargaming, things like that. And that's what they're going to be looking for. On the SOC operations side, they're going to be looking for security analysts, right? Both defense and offense. That's something else I didn't bring up, and it's something you want to consider as you graduate, as you get into this career. Understand whether you want to be on the defensive side or the offensive side, because that'll help determine what you want to do. The only way to do that, the only way to find that out, is to actually jump right in. There's no cert out there that's going to give you the context and background of what you want to do in terms of offensive and defensive security. My suggestion, again, get your basic certs like your Security Plus, maybe your CISSP if you're so inclined, and then go out and get that first job. talk to your manager, or talk to your supervisor, whoever, team lead. There's a lot of team leads now, and then find out exactly what it means to be offensive and defensive, and then find out what skill sets those take, and then maybe you get another cert. It may not be necessary, but as long as you're good at doing what you're doing, that's going to stand out more than any cert. As a matter of fact, the senior director for SOC operations at Cyball doesn't have any certifications. He's just been doing this so long that everybody trusts exactly what he can do, exactly what he says he can do. And he's the guy who will tell you, I don't care what certs you have. Don't tell me about your experience. Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to go full tilt? And are you willing to do what's necessary? You answer those three questions to satisfaction, you're probably going to have an offer within days. So, anybody who might be interested in that, I would suggest filter your resumes through Josh. I'll send them on. Of course, I can't make any promises. I'll send them on with my recommendation. But at the end of the day, when you get into that interview process, it's all about you and selling yourself to this person. And why should they hire you over anybody else? What makes you different and special? And think about things that everybody else says. Everybody says they're going to work hard. Everybody says they're going to be, they have no quit in them. And everybody says they'll keep digging until they get the right thing. Out of those three things, what can you say about yourself that someone else can't say?
Absolutely.
Is there an experience? Is there an experience? Is there something that you did? Is there a team that you led? Do you have special knowledge, cyber knowledge, or cyber intelligence knowledge, or anything like that? It's all about those types of things, those little things. And like I said, by all means, get the basic cert. Like I said, Security Plus. It's a broad range cert. It takes you through a lot of different things. You're not really specialized in anything after that, but it gives you a base understanding of what you can expect in terms of the job market and what opportunities you have available to you.
And I appreciate that answer, and I know the audience does as well. Jim, thank you for coming on live with Josh with through Seven Eagle, and I know that all the knowledge you've given us with your 26 years in the cybersecurity industry was what we're hitting some of those points that a lot of the questions were being asked. So we definitely appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, 100%. Happy to come back on at any time. Please feel free to forward any questions. I'm happy to help out any way I can.
Awesome. Thank you again. Thank you again, Jim.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
You too. So you heard it, from the clients itself. So recruiters and Seven Eagle is necessary to get your foot in the opportunity in cybersecurity and IT. I appreciate you coming on live with Josh with the Live with Clients series. And please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me questions so we can learn together. But most importantly, as you're interested in cybersecurity and IT and you're looking into getting to those roles, and you're a veteran or active duty service member or military spouse, reach out to me at Seven Eagle. You can reach out to me by going to seveneagle.com. That is the number seveneagle.com. Go to the very far right where it says About Us. Drop down to the leadership team until you find me. My contact information is there, as far as email, phone, and setting up a Zoom so we can talk more in detail. So I appreciate your time. I hope that those answered some of those questions out there for you. And I can't wait to see you again on the next series.